breaking barriers and bridging the gaps between patients and doctors. Welcome to Brainstorming with the Docs and your co-hosts, Dr. Glenn Harrison and Dr. Kolby Condos.
All right, everyone, welcome back to this week's episode of Brainstorming with the Docs. I'm Dr. Kolby Condos, my co-host, as always, Dr. Glenn Harrison. How's it going, buddy?
Doing good. I'm excited to talk about this podcast, this interview.
This is a great one. I think that this is a really great podcast because I think that it's very applicable in many people's lives, and especially applicable to us and a lot of our patients, because it deals with a topic that a lot of people are going to have to face if they're seeking help with dealing with chronic issues. So today we interviewed actually an individual that you worked with, an individual that works as a flight attendant. And we talk about some of the strategies that she implemented when she was going through her journey to health recovery.
That's right.
Some underlying thing or some little tidbits that you may not have known about. I definitely didn't prior to watching this interview.
That's right. And a lot of little hacks. I didn't know anything about it. So she's the conversation was great. She's very passionate about what she does. And she really even helped me, pulled the excuses away from the table from me, how I can follow my healthy lifestyle as I go through my life. So here's my conversation with Megan. Well, hello, Megan. Thank you for taking the time to speak with me today.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yes, I know we were talking about after everything we worked through of how you do it, how you do it. So first, I guess to kind of start, I'm gonna get you to just kind of give me a little bit of background, what you do, what you like to do, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, so my name is Megan Corbett. I've been a flight attendant for almost 13 years. I am from Northern California, graduated with my BA in Communication Studies. I graduated during a recession, and at the time, no one was hiring. They just said, good luck. And I was flying up to Canada on a regional plane, and I said, are you guys hiring? And they go, yes, we are. And I haven't looked back since. I've been at 3 airlines. My current one, about 8 years now, it'll be 8 years in December.
Wow.
And I would say in my mid to late 20s was when my health kind of took a turn. And I thought I was a sensitive stomach. I thought, something I ate, but the problems started getting bigger and bigger and bigger to the point where I was sick, brain fog, not feeling well, nauseous. And I had to really take control of my health. And also with that is food on the road and what to pack, because I was packing not the best food. Flight attendants have to pack food. Airport food, not the healthiest. Hotels, not the healthiest. I really had to turn it around in order to keep my job, my life, my sanity. And I haven't looked back ever since.
Wow. It has been a journey.
It's been 12 years.
Yeah. And at the time we worked together, I really got to know you a little bit better.
Yeah.
And really what I'd like to dial in on today, as I was mentioning, not only specifically your put focus on your health journey, but more importantly, how you did it. And, when we first started working together, I was like, flight attendant, oh my goodness, we got lots of challenges, right? We have time changes, we have time zones, we have bizarre hours that fluctuate, as I learned a lot from you. And then we have the whole concept of how do we manage. It's one thing if we're always beside a kitchen, right? That for you, that would be child's play right now. But it's a whole nother thing when we're traveling, preparing. And then there's a whole bunch of, as you were making some notes, there's a whole bunch of rules that we need to know about of what we can take on the plane. So I think that's really, so I guess I'll ask first, you talked about gadgets that are TSA approved for food. Can you kind of elaborate on that? So when people are traveling, what does that look like? What does that mean?
Okay. So for one, a lot of people think they can't bring food through security, and that's a huge myth. I mean, soup. Okay. Yeah. You can't bring like soup in, but you can bring, chicken, vegetables, fruit, any sort of snacks that are packaged too as well. You could bring fresh fruit in. You can
Oh.
even look on TSA's website, and there are, different rules with like ice packs that you could bring in. One of my favorite gadgets, a lot of flight attendants and pilots do this, is, those headache bags, like they're like balloon bags. It's like fabric with a little top at the bottom. It's just like you put on top of your head.
Yeah.
Like break a fever. We use those and we fill those up with ice and we put them over our food in our lunch bags.
Oh, wow.
And so I tell everyone, never be afraid to ask a flight attendant for ice for your food. And you can use those ice packs because you can have them empty through security, as well as some sort of TSA approved ice pack. Another gadget that I like, I do have it with me, but it's called the Hot Logic Mini. It's just like a portable little lunch pail. A lot of flight attendants use it. And you just plug it in, you put your food in here, plug it in. It's kind of like a slow cooker.
Is it like a USB plug-in?
No, it's just a regular in the wall plug-in. Yeah. You get them on Amazon, on their website. Like, I swear I'm not sponsored by this, but it works if you don't have access to a microwave in your hotel room. I will put my food in a Ziploc bag or in a Tupperware container, plug it in, take a shower or go to the gym, whatever. And I come back and it's all warm and I have warm food. And I use like a pop-up bowl, like on Amazon that you can get, put it in and just use my utensils and I have a warm meal. I
didn't know any about this. Out of all the time we were working, I don't know the logistics. Now I'm making a mental picture of what that looks like. And until you're doing it, you don't know, right? You don't. Right.
Yeah. And, I tell everyone too, most hotels you have access to microwaves, but like, sometimes you don't though. And what do you do? So I use the Hot Logic Mini and that's TSA approved. You can take that through as well as your balloon bag full of ice or your TSA approved ice pack. So those are like the two main gadgets that flight crew like to use on the road.
And then you did say something about fruit and vegetables and stuff, taking them through. I guess there's still I know when you're crossing land borders, like when I'm coming from the United States, there's certain limitations you can't cross. What about when you're going internationally? And I guess there's different country rules and stuff like that for fruit, taking it on the plane. Is there a difference? Say I'm flying from here to Europe. I get on the plane, I go through security and I have, my bowl of fruit. Do they say, no, because this is an international flight and you're taking a fruit from this?
Yeah, I'm talking mostly about domestic. Yeah. But even also with Hawaii, though, you're not allowed to bring any, you have to declare it and it has to be packaged as long as it's chopped and packaged, because it's about the seeds there in Hawaii, I believe. As long as it's chopped and packaged, you'll be okay. But if you just have an apple or an avocado, they're going to confiscate it away.
Okay.
So you need to check up on your TSA rules or traveling internationally, and they will. But if you're domestic, like I will have, chopped pineapple, chopped strawberries, carrots, cucumbers, because a lot of people want crunchy foods when they're on the plane. You've got pretzels, snacks, salt. Right. And I feel like that kind of curbs the temptation.
As a flight attendant, if you're trying to improve your health and correct your health, well, that's just going to lead down the abyss, right?
Yeah, and that's absolutely for anybody. Flight attendants and flight crew, we do have a little more privileges with the uniforms when we have it on, because it is our life, it is our career. So we can take our own food, but regular passengers, you can take food. There is no rules against it. Now, if you have like a salad with a ton of dressing at the bottom, you might get pulled over on that one. But also too, there's lots of food, on the other side. And actually one of my favorite airports, I used to be based there, was San Francisco. They have water filling stations for your water bottles as soon as you exit TSA, and everyone's clearing security and they're filling their water bottles up. It's amazing. I love seeing that.
Versus throwing your bottle of water out when you're walking.
Yeah. So I tell everyone another gadget is just bring your own reusable water bottle, because there's water filling stations everywhere in the airports. But I thought that was particularly cool in San Francisco, there out of security.
And I think it's such a barrier. Like my patients, when they're traveling, I always get the phone call or always get the email before they're going. They're like, oh, Dr. Harrison, I have to go. I have to travel. Like it's this instant burden because Dr. Harrison put them on this health strategy. and now they figure that they're going to have to, kind of sell the farm on this trip. So there's so much anxiety and stress going into it. And I'm hoping I can use this video to say, hey, we've got a person that this is their life. So, they can do it. So you can do it.
Right.
So you did talk about some foods and how to pack them. Now you did talk about healthy foods in airports, hotels, and even different types of traveling hacks. What have you done? So now you get off the plane, maybe you ate your food or most of it, and now you have to navigate through the world. And then in the morning, you're going to be back at it. You're going to get on the plane. So
Right.
you don't really have much time for anything. How do you navigate through that?
One or two ways. It depends how, I don't want to say lazy is how I'm feeling, but depends how early the morning is. Recently, I was just being a passenger, actually. I was in my uniform, but I was being a passenger and I was flying from California to Colorado. And I packed pre-packaged grainless oatmeal.
Okay.
All you have to do is add hot water. And so I asked the flight attendant when they came by, can I have a hot water? And I just added it to my oatmeal, my grainless oatmeal. And I had my granola bar. And I even had a packaged Starbucks. I like the prepackaged, just add hot water, instant coffee. And there was my breakfast. So
Wow.
really you can make it as easy as you want it to be, keep it simple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Packaged foods, there is some stigma with like, oh, packaged foods, but there are healthy packaged foods that can get the job done.
That's true. That's true. And considering how far you've come, and that just it was really a short time that we worked together.
Yeah.
If you're comfortable, could you give us a snapshot where you were at the start, where you are now, of overall health?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started flying when I was 22, early 20s. So let's just say I was on the ramen noodle diet,
Yeah.
energy drinks, to get me through. And I was eating, hotel food, bar food, going out with the crew, having a great time. And then my mid 20s, after a while, I went to another airline, eating the food on the airplane, that gets old. So I started packing my own food. I was going to, at the time I didn't really cook my own food. I was going to Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, the prepackaged section, packing that all up. But then again, in my mid to late 20s was when I started seeing my health just take a turn. Nausea, brain fog, stomachs, constipation, you name it, I had it. Went to several doctors, you're fine, you're fine. One doctor in particular did tell me to cut out gluten and dairy. And I kind of knew I was lactose intolerant. It runs in my family. That's how I started drinking my coffee black. So I started making changes. I started really packing my own food and cooking my own food. I really had to change my outlook for my health in order to feel better. So I started cooking my own food. I got the Hot Logic Mini. Things were going pretty well, but then I would get these flare-ups once a month, every other month, to the point where I was on FMLA through my GI. And then they started getting more and more consistent. It's like, okay, I work out, I hydrate, I'm going gluten-free, dairy-free. What's the problem here? And it's to the point where I was calling out sick way more than I was flying. And to the point where I would get anxiety too before a trip, where I'm like, I feel like something's going to go wrong. Is it in my head? Is it something I ate? A little bit of both. And I would call out sick. And that's when I found you and we worked together. And so, cutting foods out wasn't too much of an issue for me because I will do whatever it takes to feel better and to feel quote unquote normal.
Yeah, and you've done a lot. I don't want people to think that it's just only about foods.
Right.
Our discussion here is to try to make foods easier amongst travel, but the challenges that you were dealing with. There was lots involved. You did a lot. You have a lot of interesting hobbies too.
I do. Yes. And
Yeah, tell me a little
stress
bit about
release.
that. Yeah, tell me.
Yes. So in my mid to late 20s, I grew up cheerleading, dancing, track and field. So I grew up very, athletic and also dance, and I did theater too. And, all that fun stuff kind of goes away when you're in your 20s, when you grow up, when you graduate high school, college.
Yeah.
And I was really bored in the gym. If I went to the gym, like that's being generous. I didn't really go to the gym. Again, my eating habits were poor. And I discovered pole dancing. And one of my girlfriends was like, you'll love it because you did gymnastics. I took my first class. I was hooked, but I was terrible at it. Terrible. And I realized, oh, I think I have to cross train in order to be good at this. I need to lift. I need to do cardio. I need to do all the things. And at the same time, that's also when my health issues were happening too with my food. and diet, and also stress too, traveling, being a flight attendant, dealing with the public. It's a lot on your mental health. It really is. So I really had to turn my life around right around when I turned 30, going to the gym, dance, things that bring me joy, stress release, making sure there's playtime, always having some sort of fun activities, date nights with my husband, just those little things, meditation and journaling, therapy, all the things. And I feel like it's kind of like a report card, it's not just going to the gym. It's not just your diet. What other areas can you be lacking in?
That's so true. And that's great self-awareness, because, when we got all these health challenges, and I have my own, I went through my own, I still manage them. But sometimes we get into the exclusive have-to-do list. Everything's a have-to. And in your world, when you're on, right? When you're working, you're working, you're away, you're doing and then there's the time zones and all of that stuff. And then when you're home, well, you're still catching up on life, right? When you're back home, you're catching up.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The laundry won't put itself away.
Yeah. And then we fall out of some of our habits. We'll talk a little bit about more activity when you're on the road.
Sure.
We fall out of our habits. Then we get home. I got to catch up. So I got to get this done, get this done, get this done, get this done. So if everything's a have to, and we get home, the next thing you know, you're back at work and you're in it again.
Right.
So I love that you brought that up, that having enough self-awareness to be able to make time with play. And if you're able to combine something like an activity like pole dancing, that's enjoyable, but also a great workout, it's just the best of everything, because it's not just another I have to go to the gym. Right.
Right. Also too, I do have my days where I have to listen to my body, where it's like, that whole hustle culture, like I got to work hard, play hard, go to the gym. I'm all about people who work out, but I will also listen to my body. If I'm feeling run down, tired, there are some nights where I don't get my full sleep. Hotels can be loud. You can be downtown. You can have loud neighbors. There could be so many little things that can ruin your sleep on the road. And if I need to catch up on sleep or take a rest day and chill in my sweatpants, so be it. And I'm not going to beat myself up about that either. Like the gym will be there tomorrow, or sometimes I'll have some extra sleep and go later on in the day.
Did you beat yourself up before, when you were kind of going through the journey of health and making the changes? Was there some self-guilt if you didn't check all these boxes?
Oh yeah, absolutely. If I had a flare up, I would blame myself, be like, well, it's because I ate that thing, or, I was stressing out over this, and I didn't allow myself to feel human. And, there is this thing in our society where you feel guilty calling out sick, and you shouldn't. We're human. But, sometimes as flight crew too, we feel like we're not human. We do things a little differently. And I would always feel guilty. And now there's some people who don't feel guilty calling out at all, but that was a hurdle that I definitely had to get over. I'm perfectionist to my core sometimes, and I'm hard on myself. Absolutely.
It's very true, right? The people that pursue my kind of care, they're not looking for a shortcut. We always like shortcuts, but they aren't. So they tend to be very high. They take a high level of accountability. Like everything is internal. Every problem is internal. It's intrinsic. So they don't tend to blame anything on anything else. So as a result, they can swing too far that way. What and you did that more before. What made you be able to be a little more self-aware and give yourself a break? What do you think was the tipping point? What do you think contributed to that?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think one time I called out sick right when I got to the airport. So I was checked in, ready to go. And it was a great trip. I was going to Kona, Hawaii. And I had a flare up. This is actually right before I saw you. This was kind of my breaking point.
Okay.
Where I was like, I went upstairs to the supervisor's office, you need to pull me from this trip. I can't do this. And it was that moment, kind of like, I don't want to say a rock bottom moment, but it was just kind of like, and I talked to a supervisor, and she said, I have stomach issues too. And that's why I'm behind a desk and I'm not on the plane. And that was really eye-opening for me. Like, oh, it's not just me that has, because sometimes we're in our own worlds where we think it's just me. And I'm like, oh, someone else has issues too. That was very eye-opening for me and humbling as well at the same time. And that's when I kind of was like, you know what? You're a human. They have flight attendants to put on that plane. You can't do it. And that's okay.
So maybe it was permission. I don't know. I'm just guessing here,
Yeah.
correct? Maybe your colleague said, I have them too. Maybe it was, wow, it's kind of permission. I'm not abnormal. I can accept this and do what I need to do and take a break.
I think we all kind of put on this, I don't want to say facade, but we never know what someone's going through. And actually, one of my therapists told me, people with any sort of autoimmune disorders, it's an invisible disability. No one really knows about it. And that was kind of a eye-opening experience for me. Like, yeah, like no one really knows about this. And it is something that I have to go through. And this is my life at the end of the day. And I also kind of felt like there's nothing wrong with taking care of yourself, self-care, calling out sick, and taking care of your body and giving it what it needs. And yeah, it goes under permission. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's it. Well, thanks for sharing that. I didn't know all these stories, and we worked
Yeah.
together. So there was one more thing I wanted to touch on. Another barrier. I've had this barrier as well. I'm like, well, I'm traveling or I'm going somewhere. I just can't work out and I got better back in my other life when I worked away before I started into medicine. So I had some strategies, but they weren't that great. What you talked a little bit about that. What do you do when you're on the road and you still have enough wind in your sails to get a little bit of a workout? What do you do? What are the strategies while you're on the road?
I have a few strategies. One would be, the hotel gyms. They've come a long ways. I could tell you that right now. Like 12 years ago, ooh, not so good. But again, the great thing I'm realizing in this world that we're now living in, where mental health's more accepted and, working out and, dietary restrictions, I'm seeing more things come to light out there. And it's amazing in the general public. So I'm seeing way better hotel gyms. A lot of Hilton hotels now have Pelotons. I believe they have
Oh my goodness.
some sort of deal with Pelotons. Yeah. So I will use hotel gyms. I have the Peloton app on my phone, so I'll just use on the treadmill or follow along. I also have a Planet Fitness gym membership where I can go to any Planet Fitness across the country. So sometimes I'll look in my phone. If the hotel gym's kind of crowded or there's not a lot of equipment that I like, I'll just Google, and there's some that are within walking distance.
Okay.
Or if I'm really just want to do something quick, then I'll either YouTube something or do a 20-minute no equipment workout in my room, my hotel room. They even have yoga mats that can fit in your roller bags nowadays too on Amazon that could like fold up.
Wow.
Or you could be lazy like me and just use a towel. But sometimes that yoga mat's on my Christmas list. But yeah, I mean, a lot of flight attendants and pilots will work out in our rooms too. Or I'll go for a walk, explore a new city or find a trail. There's lots of ways.
Yeah. And you weren't pursuing all these strategies when you started off in the industry. It wasn't.
Absolutely not. No, I was the laziest person.
It wasn't,
ever.
it wasn't really until you realized that it was absolutely important for you, and then you did it.
Yeah.
And I think we all have these tools. Maybe we're not as self-aware of them. Now you're bringing this to the table, but we all have these tools. We tend to not see them or not look for them, not think about them, not be creative when we're traveling. Because most people are traveling for pleasure. Not everybody, but most are. Right. And they say, "Oh, it's a pleasure trip." No, it's an excuse. Well, there's restaurants right there. We'll just eat a bunch of whatever kind of food, maybe, and they're not even be selective on the menu, or they need their workouts. They want it, and they don't partake in anything or even go for a walk. So I think a lot of it is what we make exceptions for. And I think with travel, I know, because this is what I've done. I know with travel, it's like, well, I don't need to, because it's just travel. So it's this exception. And for you, it's not necessarily, you can't do that because it's a big part of your life. It's a big part of your life, because if you made exceptions for dietary and a healthy lifestyle every day you're at work, well, that wouldn't give you too many days out of the year to follow a healthy lifestyle. Right.
Even when I'm on vacation, as a regular person, I just got back from Hawaii with my mom, and, like I swam, we walked everywhere. There are hotel gyms and they're nice, and sometimes, just cut out a few minutes of your day and work out. And I notice I feel a lot better when I do. also too, it's kind of a nerd in me, but sometimes I like to check out other gyms too. Like I've seen on Instagram, like, oh, that place looks really cool. And you could do a drop-in fee. There's a gym that I love when I go to Tahoe with my family, and I always check it out. And I do a drop-in fee, give them a little tag on Instagram. So sometimes I like to check out restaurants with some sort of like special dietary restrictions that make people feel special.
Yeah.
And and gyms too, working out. I like to see what's out there outside of my bubble.
So you're able to make it fun and more of an adventure versus a burden and a challenge.
Absolutely. Yes. And it depends like where you go too. Like obviously I just got back from Hawaii. It's easy to walk everywhere, and like, why wouldn't you? It's so beautiful outside.
Yeah. I think you're looking at it from a different reference point though. I think you're really kind of embracing what's going on. And I think once we improve our health and we find the tools that work for us, right, to get us on track, we embrace it. We see it as an opportunity versus a sacrifice. And I think that's exactly what you did.
Yeah. And I think too, it's just, I had no choice but to turn my life around. And once I did, there's definitely a shift, where you don't feel like doing it to after you do it, you feel great. And, there's a lot of people that are like, I could never give up certain foods. I can never work out. But once it's going to suck. You kind of have to embrace the suck. But once you get past that and you feel good and you feel better than you did like when I was 22, then of course you're going to embrace it and continue to move forward. And there's easy ways too. Like the other day, I decided to get a salad in the airport and I just made restrictions. I just said, grilled chicken, no cheese. And it was delicious. And they really listen to your dietary restrictions. So
yeah,
you can still buy food and things have changed. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely exciting. So after you didn't have to leave your career, you're able to thrive in it and thrive in life and improve everything. And now teach other people how to do some of that when they're traveling. What else is down the pipe for you? What else do you want to pursue?
Oh, okay. Well, I've been performing a lot with Pulse, so I want to continue doing that. That's just, it gives me joy performing again. It makes me go back to my theater days. I would love to challenge myself in other ways, more bodybuilding, go in that direction. Definitely travel internationally too, because for the longest time, I didn't think I could with my restrictions. And now that I feel confident enough to do it, I definitely want to travel internationally again. Yeah. Check out some places there too.
So there's a lot of freedom now, and
absolutely,
you definitely made your own freedom, and the ability to travel while holding the line is a big part of it, especially with autoimmunity. Very few people have wiggle room or too much wiggle room. So you're making it happen. So anyway, I know we're going to wrap up here, but I thank you for your time. I thank you for sharing your story, and I thank you for sharing your experience. Like I said, there's nobody that knows how to travel and maintain their lifestyle better than somebody in your shoes. So hopefully it can help others. And then they don't have all those excuses now. So now they can just live their life. And then when they get to their destination, they won't feel like crap. And then when they get home, they won't feel guilty. Right.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Like, it's so easy to have that junk food, bar food, but you're not going to feel good in the process. And also it feels, just being healthy, feeling healthy is great. And also too, on my Instagram, I do have a food highlight reel, couple of things that I packed on the road. Yeah.
And I'll put that in the comments. I'll put that in the comments.
Yeah. So you want to see any of my recipes? A lot of it is before you and I met. So, but I'm going to add to it with my new diets. Yeah, absolutely. What to pack.
No, that'll be good. That'll be helpful for everyone. So again, thank you for the time. Thank you for being you. And thank you for inspiring others.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
So that was great. Yeah, that was. It's truly amazing. I worked with her for a few months, and I didn't know. I didn't know the obstacles. I didn't know
the extent that she was going to have to like dramatically change her lifestyle. It's pretty amazing. Definitely some perseverance there. For sure.
And the willpower too. Well, of course, the willpower, because we're all looking for excuses to not do what we need to do, and travel is always the toughest. It's always the toughest.
Oh, yeah.
When she said she'd be willing to come on and answer some questions and hopefully give some people some tools of how to travel, she kind of pulls all the objections out of the way if you're traveling. A
Yes.
professional traveler, the
Yes.
amount of trips she does in a week, it's unbelievable. And then she
Yes.
gets a few days off, and then she's go, 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 go. And from dealing with serious chronic illness, she was put between a rock and a hard spot where she really had to do these things. And that's exactly what she did. So even some of the hacks, I think one of the biggest things that that really kind of struck home with me is when she talked about what you could take through TSA. I always made a mental block of, oh, you can't take this, you can't take that, you can't take that. Then you go on the plane, you're like, oh my goodness, I'm hungry. And then you have these, poisonous XYZ, whatever foods.
Yeah. I'll just grab something on my way through. And all the great options there. And there are some good options there too.
There is.
You definitely have to seek them out a little bit more than the other options.
And then the other thing that I really that really kind of opened my eyes was, if you and I are traveling, if we're just traveling for pleasure, one trip, a day trip or something like, you get from point A to point B. When you're on that end, you're somewhat settled in.
Yeah.
Someone like her,
there's a quick turnaround for her, like sometimes 24 hours, right?
Yeah.
She gets there, she gets, a night in a hotel, does whatever she's going to do. And then the next morning she's flying somewhere else. It's days on end for that.
That's right. And how much discipline does it take when you get to that end and there's a restaurant and there's all whatever fast food chains and everything everywhere, and you're tired already? How much discipline does it take? Okay, I'm going to open up my little XYZ, MacGyver equipment, and I'm going to.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting too. I never would have thought about that, And
I'm going to make it work versus I'm just going to, hit the restaurant and just take whatever they give me and then suffer later. So I think the story is really interesting. I think her strength, her willpower, her discipline, I know it inspires me. And and
I think that this really does. When you think about it, this podcast is going to be a really good tool. This specific episode is going to be a great tool for people who go, well, it's too hard to do this. I wish maybe the one thing I wish we would have asked her about is, if you had her on supplements and stuff, how she navigated that with some of the liquids and stuff. Because I know I've even talked with my patients about like how because I travel back and forth to like where I grew up quite a bit, how I do it, because I maintain my supplement schedule even when I'm traveling. And, I talk some of the strategies with my patients about how I do that. I would be interested to see her take on how she did it.
That's right. Because I know for me, anytime I'm traveling with liquids, I'm always checking a bag, but I know she had liquids at one time. I don't know how she did it with traveling. So yeah, I guess that was one question I missed. Maybe next time.
Round two. I mean, it might be really useful to people. I think it's really cool because it really does. I mean, her job is to fly all over the country and the world, and she does it every single day.
That's right.
And many times with quick turnarounds. So the fact that she was able to adhere to the recommendations that you gave her so effectively is really inspiring. And I think that it's going to empower a lot of people. So I'm super glad that she came on. Really appreciate it. If you're watching this, Megan, thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Megan. So all of her information, she said I think she even said she'd ask questions. She did. So we're just kind of volunteering for that. So her, all her social media, profiles and everything will be below. So you could reach out to her. And if she's not, she's between flights, maybe she can answer some questions about.
I mean, you think about it, she might have a heck of a side hustle being like, the
advisor.
The traveling health coach or something,
Yeah.
Like you might be able to give some people some awesome strategies.
Maybe. But her information will be below if anybody wants to check her out or her hobbies or how she does what she does. It'll all be there. So, I guess that's
excellent. Yeah. So if you guys like this podcast, you got value out of this type of podcast and the information in it, again, please hit like and subscribe. We really appreciate it, and turn on notifications because we're going to try to keep rolling out new topics, new conversations with interesting people, new health things that are coming out, quite frequently. And stay tuned because we're going to roll out more, and hopefully we roll out something that's useful and applicable to you. So till next time, buddy.
That sounds good. I look forward to the next one.
All right. Bye-bye.
Just before you go, sorry for interrupting, but just before you go, we got some exciting news, Dr. Kolby and I. We've been brainstorming and working on this podcast for quite some time, and we want to add another layer. So we've got some extremely exciting news coming up in the new year. Isn't that right, Dr. Kolby?
I love it. So 3.5 years in the making, and we're finally taking the next step in an effort to help you guys with your health concerns and conditions. We are actually going to be rolling out a series of courses on common health concerns. We have a rough timeline. We don't have everything lined out just yet. We are currently working on it, but starting the new year, stay tuned because we're going to be rolling out some courses that'll help a lot of you guys.
Yeah, so just stay tuned. We're gonna be announcing it soon. What exactly we're putting together, but just a heads up. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the podcast, and look forward to what we're going to be releasing here shortly.